In the rolling hills and hollers of the South, there's a vine that creeps into every shadowy, forgotten corner, climbing trees, blanketing fences, and smothering old farmhouses. Kudzu is more than just a plant. It's a metaphor for how things grow wild when left to their own devices. Beauty and chaos not only coexist here, but are also one and the same. The Kudzu project tries to make sense of it all. The small town struggles, the entangled lives, the deep roots, and the common thread that stitches our communities together. Join us wherever you download podcasts for fresh dispatches from the venerable South with our host, Nick Lucy.
Just to kind of give you a little bit of background about myself. So my wife, Tiffany, and I moved here from Colorado, where I lived there for 10 years. My wife lived there for 20 years. And we both moved to Colorado from Georgia. So I had to move to Colorado to meet a good Georgia girl. So we wanted to be closer to family. My dad and my sisters are in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and my brother's in Salisbury, and her family is in the Chattanooga area. We wanted to find a community that we could put down roots and grow, and Hendersonville was that community. We always kind of fancied Western North Carolina. We just called it Asheville because we had, both been to Asheville before. We never really had been to Hendersonville. And so we started making some trips out. I guess in our first trip out here to actually look for a place to live was 22. We just kind of rolled into Hendersonville sight unseen, and we're like, I think this is the town that we want to live in.
This is a good place to live in.
Yeah, it just had that. We lived in a town in Colorado between Denver and Colorado Springs, and it always wins awards for best towns in America to live in, and it's about 80,000, 85,000 population now, but it grew very, very fast, and it still had a small town feel to it. Very good community spirit, a lot of events, safe place to live. We liked it, but we were ready to move closer to family. So this kind of had a little similar feel, and it had a little bit of that mountain town vibe to it in Western North Carolina that seemed very familiar to us at the time. So we moved here a couple years ago, didn't know a soul. Started our marketing company, got in early with downtown Hendersonville and helping them out with some initiatives that they had, especially promoting 7th Avenue because that was undergoing a lot of construction at the time. And so downtown Hendersonville wanted us to help get the word out that businesses were still open. And so that kind of helped us launch in Hendersonville. And something that we always try to involve ourselves in nonprofits and helping out causes. And we've been working with the Veterans Healing Farm pretty much since we moved here. We were just recently on the Blue Ridge Honor Flight back in September, went up to DC. That was a great experience and great organization. So we believe in giving something back to the community. Everybody talks about all these people moving to Hendersonville. I think it's okay if you get involved in the community and give something back to move to a place. Mm-hmm. If you move to a place and expect it to be like the place you moved from or expect things to change, I think there's a hypocrisy to that. So we settled here and try to get assimilated and try to help out, roll up our sleeves and help out. So a name that kept appearing in front of us was Stuller Power Solutions and Cheryl Stuller, Brian Stuller, and the immense work that you do for the local community, helping out. So I guess that's a perfect segue into what we're talking about here today, and that's community involvement, helping out the community. I know that your business is positioned uniquely to help in the recent crisis that was Hurricane Helene. You provide power solutions for residents and commercial entities, generators. I'm sure you can speak much better about the company. So I will hand the mic over to you, Cheryl, and tell us a little bit about Stuller Power Solutions, how you started. You've been around 25 years now?
25 years.
Wow.
We came here from Georgia as well. We were looking for something that had a lot of activities, involvement that the kids could do. It was a great place at the time to raise our kids and be involved in the community. We were involved in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Little League, soccer, just anything we could be involved in. We started that way. Whatever our kids did, we did. So we were the coach, the Cub Scout leader, the assistant coach, whatever it was, we got involved with the kids. And then I started out early on with Safelight. That was then Mainstay. And I was with them for 14 and a half years as a court advocate. And that just kind of appealed to my sense of right and wrong and justice and how can we help people move forward in their lives. So that's kind of how I got started with Safelight. And there are big, we help a lot of organizations. We're involved a lot, but Safelight is our true heart.
Okay. I noticed that you do have a sign out just around the corner there by Safelight. Do you have an office there, or is that just...
No, it's just part of, if they have something going on, we try to be involved in it. And we try to help out monetarily. We try to help out with boots on the ground. We try to help out with getting the word out. I do speaking events, just whatever I can do to get the message out that if you are going through a situation with interpersonal violence, you don't have to go through that by yourself. There is something here for you that I didn't have back in the 80s, so that's a big deal to me.
Yeah. What was the catalyst, if you don't mind me asking, for your interest in that cause?
I got married. I grew up in a small farming town. I grew up on a farm, a working farm. So
this was in Georgia?
This was in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That kind of led to Georgia, but I grew up working.
Yeah.
I was a working class, teenage girl. I was driving at 11, getting the hay trailers back from the field into the barn. As soon as I could back a trailer into the barn, I could drive. So I was very familiar and had a lot of experience with, I felt like I was independent. I felt like I was confident. But then I got into a situation with a guy in high school. I only dated one person. He was out of high school when I met him because I was so mature for my age with all the responsibility I had. I wasn't into the high school guys. They were too immature for me. So I got married literally right out of high school. It was not a good situation. He was very much emotionally abusive, and then at the end, physical. I found out I was pregnant, and I said, okay, I kind of woke up at that point. I kind of said, it's one thing for me to live like this, but I'm not going to have my child live like this. And that kind of started the journey to independence, finding out who I was, and kind of that leading me into what I thought I could become later on that I didn't think about at that time when I was with that person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what got me into Mainstay.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. And it's a story that's probably all too familiar to so many people,
right,
in this world. So you had a child, son or daughter?
Daughter.
Daughter.
It's my oldest daughter.
Okay. And you were able to break free from not only him, but the circumstances and the area.
Yeah, I moved. To get away further from that situation, because we're talking about small town, rural Florida. Not a great place for a woman to be at that time, single and pregnant. I didn't do well in court. It always favored him. I wasn't allowed to move out of the state. Like, I had all of these restrictions. So I ended up moving to Pensacola. Kind of like you, didn't know anybody. I just knew that I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get as far away as I could and still be close to my parents. So that was 5.5 hours away. And that's where I started going to college, started seeing a future for myself, met my husband there. So that's kind of what gave me a sense of hope and purpose.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Pensacola has a large naval presence, and Brian was in the Navy, correct?
He was in the Navy at the time, yes.
Wow. And so you married Brian, Pensacola. How long did you remain in Pensacola?
We got married in 89, and we were there for 9 years.
Okay.
Until my dad he had a brain tumor, the same thing that John Glenn had. It's a glioblastoma. It's not a very favorable cancer as far as treatment and even surgery. You do not usually survive that. So we moved to Georgia because my dad had bought, it was his dream to have a farm all in one piece of land. We had a field here, a field there in Florida, and we were always, trying to manage all of that. And so he wanted one big acreage, and he did. He found that with 325 acres. And so he moved. He was in the process of moving the cows and the business and everything. And he just came home one day and he was really sick, and it was over Thanksgiving break. And I said, this isn't, he kept complaining about his head hurting and everything. And I said, this isn't a sinus infection like you think it is. We're going to the emergency room. And that's where we found out. So we ended up getting out of the Navy on a hardship discharge to help him because he could no longer travel from Florida to Georgia, to help him work the farm, get the farm set up. Brian had experience on a farm. Of course, I did. So we tried to work a job and do that at the same time.
This was late 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. It was probably the worst 2 years of, other than it was just not a good time. It wasn't good for us. We didn't fit in well there. It was really hard to manage having 4 kids and having low paying jobs and trying to work a farm at the same time. So it wasn't really good for us. So when he passed, my mom sold the farm, and we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? Right. And Brian was an electrician in the Navy, because that's kind of important to know, because that's kind of what led us to where we are today. So we had been on vacation here with my mom and saw the mountains, the camps, the activities for the kids. Like I said earlier, it was just a great place to have a family, and we felt like we would fit in here. Yeah. It was more us. Right. Hendersonville was more us.
You were living in Georgia at the time, and when did you decide to make the move?
As soon as my dad passed away, we had to figure out where we wanted to be and how to move forward as a family, because that was not a good place for us. And so we moved here in 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, similar story, you kind of moved here, although having visited here, it was kind of new to you, obviously, to live here.
We didn't know anybody.
Wow. And not only geographically very different from Florida and Georgia.
Right.
You're in the mountains now.
Right. And you get snow here. That blew me away.
Yeah. And so Brian had the electric background, and did he work as an electrician when you first moved here?
So, sort of. He worked at Clement Pappas, which was the juicing place out on 25 at the time, called Clement Pappas. He was kind of like he would fix everything. And he's good at that. That's kind of what he can do really well. And so he wanted to work for himself. And he goes, that's my goal. And I said, okay, I'll help you do that. I'll help you get there. I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to be a mom. I know I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I don't know what else I want to do. I'm kind of still figuring that all out for myself.
And how many kids did you have at this time?
4. I had all 4.
Wow.
My kids. My youngest 3 were born at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola. Yeah. So he started doing side jobs. So we had a Ford Aerostar van. I would take the kids to school. I would come back. We would take all the car seats out, take the back seat out. He would load up his tools, and then just kind of by word of mouth started getting jobs. And it got to the point where we could kind of do that. We could work out of our garage and had enough work coming in that he could do that full time. And then we ended up having enough money to get a van for him to drive, so he wouldn't have to use the family van. So we started out like rock bottom. We didn't start out with anything. And we just kind of through doing what we say we're going to do, being honest, doing good work, kind of grew from there. And, one person tells another person, and you kind of start meeting people. And we were getting involved at the YMCA a lot with the kids and all the activities and Boy Scouts. And it just kind of grew from there. Mm-hmm. Very organic.
It's definitely, a philosophy that works, whether you're talking about electrical work or, dentistry or whatever you're going to do in life. If you're honest, if you put in a hard day's work, that's going to pay off. People are going to see your passion at work for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about the company, what your company does, what it provides.
We're definitely a different company now. I want to kind of emphasize that. We're definitely a different company now than when we started. When we started, we focused on surviving and making it to the next job and having the money for the next job. And just kind of as we grew in the community and grew in our knowledge and what we wanted to do, it then became more about, okay, we need to hire the right people. We want to keep those people. We want to take care of those people. Those employees are part of our family, our work family, our personal family, where we do stuff outside of work together. And then that became, okay, now we want to not just be involved in what our kids are doing, but we want to be involved more in the community. So I took it from, I'm just volunteering myself, to we need to have this as a philosophy for the company. And how do we bring our employees into that? So we're much different now than we were then. And now also we got started wiring custom homes as an electrician, as an electrical company. And now we solely focus on generators, whole house generators.
Yeah. Yeah, electrical work is something like dentistry, to use that analogy again. You don't want to do it yourself. You need to hire somebody I had a friend that used to say, you always want to hire somebody with a name badge when it comes to something like that. Because if you don't do it right, it could go south really quickly. What made you transition from the electrical stuff to generators? Was there something that...
Well, again, we want to be able to grow this company, and as you have your employees there longer, you want to be able to pay them more. You want to provide health care for them. We wanted to provide an IRA opportunity. You need capital to do that. So Brian was like, we need a product. And so that kind of flowed easily into generators, because that's also electrical. Mm-hmm. So I give him a lot of credit for that, for seeing that vision and knowing how to grow it that way. And once we did that, we were able to provide healthcare, IRA, more time off, more involvement in the community, where we could take a day off and pay the employees and still do a whole day of caring. So that's kind of been how we grew into that. So I want to thank not only our employees, but our customers, because whether they realize it or not, they're part of helping the community in that way by being our customer.
Yeah. You've said the word family many times. Mm-hmm. Do you see it as this is your family?
Oh yeah. We definitely, we meet every Friday morning and have a breakfast by Arabella's. Thank you, Arabella's.
Oh, wow. Great breakfast.
Yeah, great breakfast. And that's a group time for us to be together and talk about, how did your week go? Do you have any questions? Is there anything that came up on the job that we can teach you and have a discussion about? We even do, like I used to do with my kids, rose and thorn. How was your week? What was your rose? What was your thorn? And how can we support you in what you might be going through, or what the joy is that you're going through, whatever that is. And so trying to connect on a personal level, and not just, you're somebody that punches a time clock for us. That's not who we want to be as people or a company.
Now, how big is your Stuller family now?
So there's 19, including Brian and I, so 17 families. And I talk about that a lot with Brian, like, okay, here's the next stop, but how do we take care of those 17 families? Because that's really important. And our customers. How do we make it good for everybody? And that's kind of a hard line to walk sometimes.
Yeah. Do they feel comfortable coming to you about anything? I mean, not only work related, do you get involved in...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope they do. I mean, we've talked a lot about communication, saying the hard things, and, we don't know what we don't know. So if we don't know you're going through something or you're unhappy, we can't help, we can't change, we can't learn from that. And so when we just had our yearly, interviews and stuff. And, part of what we said was, how can we make it better and different for the company and for you? What can we be doing as well?
Yeah.
It's not just about what the employee's doing, but what can we do to be better and different?
Right.
So,
because often people draw a very thick line between work and home, but the two kind of blur together sometimes, and things that happen at home can affect your work, obviously.
Yeah. And I think, not to say anything about anybody else, because you should definitely have the environment that you want to have. But for us, we're spending more time with each other 40 plus hours a week than you are at home sometimes. Yeah. So if there's something going on at home that's affecting you, we want to know that. Yeah. How can we make that better for you and support you? I think that's something that's really, really important to us, and has been from the beginning. But it's easier to have that now because we've had a lot of the same people that work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our first employee that we ever hired, Artur from Albania, was with us for 19 years until he died from cancer. And we still meet with Julie, his wife, every Christmas and see her and keep up with her and see what's going on with the family and everything. So
I apologize for the background sounds.
It's all good.
It's become part of the podcast, is talking about the sirens. And I like to mention, if you want to see Hendersonville and if you're interested in moving here, don't let the sirens affect your opinion. So what's next for Stuller Power Solutions?
Well, we just took on the gas side of it. So we can now do our own gas hookup for propane and for natural gas. We have our own propane tanks. We can bury those. We can keep them above ground. So we added kind of another department almost. And Josh and Greg do a great job with that. And we're actually building another building on our property to house all of the gas supplies. And make sure we have room for all of that. So
it must be kind of a risky business with the flammability.
No, we don't do the gas itself.
Okay.
We can now do the install of the gas. And then we have like Thompson gas, or come out and fill it or hook it up like Enbridge, if it's natural gas.
So you're talking about installing the gas heater systems.
No, like the regulator that hooks into that propels the gas to run the generator.
Okay, gotcha.
When the electricity's off.
So the generator is still the center piece of what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Now, for people who aren't aware of generators, you hear talk about generators, but why would someone need a generator?
Well, I think a lot of people that didn't think they needed one found that out during Helene, because we had people 14 plus days without power.
Absolutely.
And when you have people that are on oxygen, when you have people that have to keep medication cold, that's a tricky thing.
Yeah.
So the longevity of that time kind of showed everybody, even if you're out for 2 or 3 days, that impacts you. If you work from home, you don't have internet, you lose everything in your refrigerator. So it's just a good investment to have, especially in this mountainous area where we get all kinds of weather, and sometimes in the same week.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. It's kind of like Colorado in that sense. So give me just a ballpark number, if you wouldn't mind, what a generator runs for people that might be interested.
Cost-wise, or what it runs in the house?
Cost-wise, and then what it runs in the house.
Okay, so cost is affected by what you want to run in the house.
Okay.
So they kind of marry each other. If you want a whole house generator, it's going to be $10,000 and up, based on your square footage, based on how much you already have that runs off of gas. That makes it easier for the generator because it's not having to fuel that too.
Right.
So the more appliances and devices in your home that are all electrical, the bigger the generator.
Yeah.
And then you can also do select services. You can go small and say, I only want to run my internet and my my refrigerator, my hot water heater. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so you decide how much you want to spend. And we also do financing. So
because lights don't take much power, but like a refrigerator,
Yes.
microwave, coffee maker, hair dryer, all those things in concert to keep a normal house running at a normal level requires something of that magnitude.
It does.
So.
And that's where we like to have the site visits with the husband, with the wife, or the partners, because a female might know more about what she wants to run in the house to make it run, you know, like you said, a hair dryer. Versus, you know, a guy that might not think about everything that has to function in the house. Not to be sexist or anything, but, you know.
It's truth. It's just the truth.
It's a lot of what we find, so it must be true.
Yeah. So we used to do a lot of camping. The camper with the generator in the campground was always the least popular person because it would be running at night. These aren't super loud, are they?
No, and the technology that they have now, especially with this new generator series that Generac has come out with, they can run at a higher RPM and be even quieter. And to your point about the portable generators, they now have battery operated ones or solar. So you can't even hear them. We put one in for UNCA Asheville, the men's soccer team. They were having that trouble. They had a gas operated portable, and it was hard for them to make announcements and play the game because here's this loud generator. So we put in a quieter one, battery operated one. They were like, wow, we can't even hear it. This is insane. So there's been a lot of technology progression over the years as well.
I know that with the advent of the EV and Tesla, I know Tesla was working on some sort of house battery.
Generac has that. So what happens is the battery is charged in your house. You lose power. The generator will run off of the battery until it runs out, and then it'll run off of your fuel source, whether that's propane or natural gas. So you can kind of have a longevity time if we're out like 14 days again. Hopefully that never happens, but yeah.
So your industry is evolving to meet technology.
Yes, it's called a battery backup system, and it's something we put in at Safelight too, actually.
Well, it sounds like to me a pretty low cost for peace of mind in the event that something catastrophic happens again, heaven forbid, to keep your house running, to keep your life running, even when everything's going to heck around you.
Right.
At least you have a home to come back to that you can live your life. Well, it's an amazing story. So you power families, basically.
Well, we heard a lot because our boys happened to be in Peru at the time that this hit. So they had internet. So we were communicating with them to say, hey, we need to get emails out and tell people you need to be shutting your generator down at least 2 days. You got to check the oil, and this is how you're going to do that, and come to the office and we have oil, we have supplies for you. So we would get hundreds of people in. We operated 18 days straight. So another shout out to our staff because they had stuff going on at their own house, their own homes, and yet they came in every day. And we focused a lot on the medically fragile homeowners first to make sure everything was running and good, because what Helene did was it came in really fast, it flooded generators, and then left really fast. So what are you left with? So we had to kind of navigate that. And we would hear stories as people would come into the office about, we're the only house on the block that has a generator, so we take turns letting people take showers, letting people charge their phones, like you said, living, that you have to kind of do now that we've kind of gotten used to all of that. Washing clothes. Hey, you can put food in our freezer, in our refrigerator, so you're not losing all of your food. So that became a real community thing that I thought was really important that we got out of that. And, people that hadn't met each other. I met my neighbor 3 doors down because I have a generator, and I was like, come on, let's do this. And people would get together at night and have wine and sit around and talk and build a fire or have candles, and they would talk to each other because we didn't have TV. We didn't have all of those outside interferences.
Yeah.
So people got to know each other better.
Yeah.
So that was some of the good that came out of it.
Yeah.
I remember going, so I want to give another shout out to Monty's and to Mary's because they kept our staff fed. And they were kind of the only ones open at the time. And I remember by day like 16, Shine finally opened. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need a salad, because it hadn't been in my life for like 16 days. So I went down to Shine and I walk in and everybody's like laughing and having drinks. And I'm like, what are these assholes doing? Do they not realize what's going on outside? And then I had to kind of check myself and say, no, this is a good thing that they can get together. They can see outside of what's going on for just that little bit of hour that you're spending there.
Yeah.
And come together, and they might be celebrating, hey, we finally got our power on and our water on, or hey, I finally heard from my mother and she's fine. It could have been that. So I had to kind of check myself on that. And because we were still getting everybody coming in and hearing all the stories.
Right.
And so we were a little bit disconnected from having a good time.
They like to drive down Fifth Avenue for some reason. They always come right by the office, right when the interview's getting good.
Oh my goodness. It's all good. It's real life.
It's definitely one of those things you don't know what you've lost until you lost it, power. And you give the gift of normalcy, return to normalcy with your product, with power. And it is healthy to return to normal after something like Helene.
Especially if you have children, or if you're medically fragile and you've got insulin that you need to keep refrigerated, you want to be able to have access to that and have that be okay in your life. That's a big deal. So it's more than just powering your house. I love what you said. It's powering lives because we all want to live a happy and healthy life as much as we can. And having access to medicines and to good food, all of that matters.
Well, I do also have a marketing agency, so I like to kind of rattle off slogans.
I like that one.
Feel free to use it.
That one.
That's a freebie, Cheryl. So what do you like to do when you're not powering lives?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. So a lot of us have motorcycles. I have my own motorcycle.
You're talking Harley?
No. BMW.
BMW.
I like a cafe racer.
A little bit more refined.
And a little bit more upright for me as a woman.
These are adventure bikes?
No, because they're taller.
Yeah.
It's like a cafe racer.
Okay.
It's a R9T. I have 2 of those, and I really enjoy riding. And we have several of our staff that do that too. So several of our staff and Brian and my son Kyle rides. We all got together and did the toy run. That was a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun. It took me back to where the community was during Helene because, as a rider, you're constantly, is that person going to pull out? Does that person see me? And you're kind of like on high alert.
Yeah.
Well, we got to do a ride from Fletcher Park through Brevard, down 64. We ended up at the courthouse, and the police were blocking the sheriff's department and the volunteer sheriff's department. Thank you guys so much. They were blocking intersections for us so we could just ride through, and people were stopped. Cool. And they would get out of their car and wave. And I was like, oh my God, that sense of community that we haven't had recently since November of last year.
Right.
I felt that again. And it gave me hope that there are good people out there. Absolutely. And there are good people that care about other people. And we raised like over $33,000 that day for kids to have toys that are in the foster care system.
And what was that program again?
It was a toy run, Henderson County toy run. And it was very successful.
That's amazing.
Had over 500 bikes.
Wow.
So just getting out and talking to other people that ride and then having our staff with us. And it was just, I will remember that day for a long time. That was a special day.
That's great.
Yeah.
Have you done Tail of the Dragon?
Yes, I've done that twice. I'm not as fast as my husband. He's a really good rider, but I can hold my own and keep up with other people. So I enjoyed that.
Where is your dream riding destination?
Well, we went to Italy and Germany, and we found this company that does rides that you can book with them, and you ride with them. You take your bike over there, or you rent one over there, and you go from one continent to another. And that would be a dream for me to be able to do that in the summer.
Did you ever see that documentary with Ewan McGregor?
Yes.
Long Way Around?
I did.
Yeah.
And that kind of is what got me interested in that as well. And I'm also interested in seeing what other women do, because there's not a lot of women riders. So when I see another woman riding, I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh, you go, girl, you know.
I've flirted with buying a bike at many points in my life. Even to this day, there's something about, I have my motorcycle, what do you call it, rating or whatever, the M on the license.
Yeah, good for you.
Because when I was in television, we did an episode on an island in the Caribbean, and we had to ride Harleys. So I took the course. I took the Harley course. I really enjoyed it, but I really felt that I might hurt myself on it. And I think that shouldn't be something to stop you, but it's something that gives you pause. And I guess if you're not ready to make the next step, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. But I give you props for doing it.
You definitely need to feel confident.
Yeah.
Because if you're not confident, then you're not going to be aware like you should.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to drive defensively around here.
Yeah.
In the last 2 weeks, we've had two of our vans get hit by people running red lights.
Wow.
So you definitely have to be aware, and I would love for everybody out there to be aware.
Yeah.
Quit running red lights, people.
A little profit center for your company. You should consider selling blinker fluid, because I think everybody's run out in Hendersonville. They don't seem to.
They're distracted. Stay off your phones, people.
Yeah. Well, it's illegal now, right? Didn't they just pass something just like a month ago? Mm-hmm. The hands-free thing.
Right.
So yeah. Mad props for riding a bike. Mad props for riding a bike here. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice area with all the hills and the curves, and it's a really nice place to ride here for that. You can go pretty much anywhere and find a nice curvy road and end up on the top of a mountain, even if you just go on the parkway, which is a lot safer if you're, nervous about that. But I grew up on a dirt bike, so I had that experience already. And I'm a very confident driver as well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had both of those worlds kind of marry and go, hey, I could maybe do this on a street. I think I can do this. So
that's awesome. Well, you're very community focused. The theme that I draw out of this conversation is that, it's all about family, really, whether it's your own family or your adopted corporate family. And it seems like you believe in taking care of family.
Well, and somebody told me something about a month ago that really resonated with me, because, the news right now is overwhelming and it can really feel heavy. And she said to me, if everybody does one thing small, it equals a huge thing that's big. If everybody did that. And that could be helping somebody pick up their packages that they just dropped, or paying behind you for somebody else's thing. It doesn't have to be a big, huge thing, or it can be. Yeah. But if everybody did an act of kindness every day, think how much different this, especially the United States, would be right now. Yeah. I want that. I want that back.
Yeah. Be kind, right? I mean,
just be kind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy. It's free.
Care about other people. Ask about what other people are going through. Don't just say, I always do this too. And this is something I would recommend. If you talk to a friend or see somebody and they say, hey, how are you doing today? And they just say, okay, let's talk about that. Can we talk about that? Why are you just okay today? Yeah. I did that yesterday and found out that she had gotten bad news about her dad. So that creates a conversation and a moment where you can care about what somebody else is going through. Yeah. And That's nice to be cared about.
Sometimes there's, a lot of people just are very reluctant to share their problems with people, especially in the workplace. It must be difficult sometimes to extract that information.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay too. But when a follow-up to that could be, well, I just want you to know if you ever get ready to talk about it, I'm here. But if not, I'm thinking about you and I hope it gets better.
Yeah. And it's a generational thing too. My father's 93 and you would never know if there's something troubling him unless you pull it out of him.
That was my
with
parents
pliers.
too.
Yeah.
Always stoic.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we're learning, and I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I think we're learning how to be empathetic and see outside of ourselves.
And it's critical too, isn't it? With folks who might be dealing with violence at home, there's still a stigma around all that kind of stuff. And there's definitely walls that are put up to protect people.
I think less so now, and that's a good thing, because we can talk about it, and we have talked about it a lot. And Safelight is doing a really good job about getting into the schools. They now can get into the middle schools. So before our kids are starting to date, what does a healthy relationship look like?
Right.
Because, I can remember being told, oh, that little boy knocked you down. Oh, it's because he likes you. That's the attention, No.
Yeah.
That's not what that is.
It's not okay.
And so just identifying appropriate behavior at a young age, learning empathy, and talking about it in your homes too, about how do you treat a boy, a man? How do you treat a girl, a woman? What is respectful? What is kind? I think those conversations are really important to have, not just at school, but at home too.
Yeah. There are so many fractured families now. Little boys aren't always able to look up to their father for guidance on how to treat a woman or vice versa. These are trying times that we're living in, for sure.
Very much so. Very much so.
So Christmas is right around the corner. It's a time for thinking about family and with the new year, thinking about introspection. What advice would you give someone who maybe is facing a similar situation that you lived through and that you deal with your work with Safelight? What would be your advice to them in this time, looking towards a new year, trying to break out of the rut, trying to break out of the cycle?
First of all, you are worthy by yourself to be treated well. I waited until I was pregnant to say, now I'm worthy. You are worthy in and of by yourself alone to say, this is not okay, and I deserve to be treated better, but I don't know what that looks like. Because sometimes you don't know what that looks like. Sometimes you might have grown up that way, and that's what you know. And so reaching out, finding somebody in your life or in the community that you can trust, that you can have an initial conversation with to say, I think I might be going through something. Can I tell you about it? And can you tell me what's right, what's not right? What can I do? What can I not do? And that's a good thing that Safelight does, is they have the 24/7 hotline that you can call. And as soon as you make that connection, you don't have to tell your whole story. You can just say, I'm not okay right now. How can you help me? Yeah. And they will immediately get you in contact with a counselor, with services in the community if you need help with your rent, or I'm homeless, or I don't have gas money to get to a job, or I'm having trouble finding childcare because I don't have that partner in my life anymore, or I don't want to have that partner in my life. What can that look like for me? If you just make that initial phone call or reach out, we will immediately help you and be by your side through that whole process. That's what Safelight does. And the other thing that Safelight does that I never had access to was everything is on Washington Street. Everything is together. If you need a medical exam, if you need counseling, if you need a gas card, everything is in one location. If you need legal services, if you want somebody to go to court with you, all of that is in that location, and they can help you from A to Z. You don't have to go around to different services, and they can help you hook up with IAM if you need help with food. So they're a resource that can reach out to other nonprofits, absolutely, but they're the hub, right. and they can bring you in together and not make you navigate that by yourself.
Yeah.
That's the key, is to not have to do it by yourself, because you don't know what you don't know. And so they do know what you don't know. Yeah. So that can help you go forward and live a better life for yourself.
So step one, get into Safelight.
Even just make the phone call to the 24/7 hotline and say, this is where I am. What do I need to do next? And you just do the next right thing, meaning one step at a time. What is the next right thing that I can do in my situation, whatever that might be? You focus on that one thing. You don't look at the big picture right away. You just take one step, and that will lead you into the next step and the next step, and more resources and more people that have your back and support you and care about you. And once you get that, and you get that kind of confidence in yourself to go, okay, wow, it is okay that I am treated well, and that I'm safe, and that my children are safe, or my pets are safe. Whatever that is and looks like for you, that's what it should be.
Well, thank you for taking care of the family that is Hendersonville, and it's a remarkable story. I'm glad we were able to sit down today and talk about what you do with the community and with your family.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Cheryl Stuller.
Thank you, Nick.
The Kudzu project is made possible by the Lucy Agency, helping businesses across the South grow deep roots and stand out. Based in Hendersonville, North Carolina, this full-service marketing firm builds handcrafted websites, eye-catching logos, and social media that pops for businesses and organizations. Because if your story's worth telling, it's worth telling right. Learn more at lucyagency.com. That's LUCEY agency.com.
Everyone has a story, and at the Kudzu Project, we want to hear yours. Go to kudzuproject.com and fill out our story submission form. You can write your story for us to read on the podcast, request to be interviewed, or even nominate someone else whose story deserves to be told. The Kudzu Project is all about capturing the voices and spirit of our community, and your story could be the next one we share. Visit kudzuproject.com and tell your story today.